Hi everyone, my name is Jillian and welcome to my first YouTube video. I've been thinking of making a YouTube channel for a while now just to document sort of my journey as a fashion designer and as a small business owner here in Toronto. This was kind of highly requested and it's going to be about the making of my wedding dress, which is here. I'll insert some of my Pinterest, I guess, inspiration photos here somewhere. And then this is the final sketch that I came up with. I have my book in front of me. Let me find it. So, can you see it? I knew I wanted a deep V. I barely have a chest, so I wasn't too worried about cleavage or anything. And I knew I wanted some sort of sheer and low back. So you can see that I drew it like below the natural waistline here. And yeah, so that was the original sketch. So I drew this up before I started designing it, or before I started constructing it, I should say. This was my sketch. And because I couldn't decide, or I didn't know when I was gonna launch this YouTube channel, I don't have like full videos of when I was actually sewing up the dress, but basically to make the pattern first, I have my mannequin here, so you can see that it's an adjustable mannequin. If you are a sewer or a designer, you know that there's like two main methods for making your pattern pieces. There's draping, which you do physically on the mannequin or on your Judy, which is another word for the mannequin. Or there's flat pattern drafting, and I can do pattern drafting, but I'm not used to it. Like my go-to method would be the draping. I don't have a video for it, like I said, but I'll show you my pieces. So this, it says Jill Wedding. Always label your pieces. I have my bust point mark here and CF for an indication of center front. So basically, that would be this piece right here. I have my side front, Jill side front wedding, which was this piece over here. And then I have my back piece. You can see that I do have the boning details, but the back piece is actually just one full piece, so there's no seams here. I just sewed these inserts like directly on top. So you can see that's this piece here. For the skirt, you can see that I don't have any darts because I knew I didn't want any lines or seams going down the front. So I actually already have like set basic pattern pieces for myself. So I just pulled this out of my, I guess my pattern piece stash, and I kind of folded it based on how I wanted it to be adjusted based on my design. You can kind of see that it's lowered here in this corner. And it's a little bit more fitted since I didn't have the dart, so that's why here I measured and folded it to match the exact shape of the skirt and the waist that I wanted. So those were my pattern pieces, which I forgot to film. And then now I did film some time lapses basically of when I did actually start sewing. So I have them on my laptop here, and then I'll flash it, I guess, on this side. And then I'll kind of just explain what's going on. Let's see this one here. So at this point, like I said, I didn't film everything. I laid out the skirt piece in the actual, we call it the self. So whatever is going to be the outside, it's the self fabric, and then whatever's the inside, that's the lining fabric. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm cutting out the lining using the self pattern piece that I already cut out as my guide. And that one was short, so let's see the next one. I think this is me already sewing the skirt together, it looks like. Yeah, because the pieces are a little bit big. So this is most likely the skirt. So I do use an industrial machine, which you can see here. And I guess I'll also show sort of my progress photos. So in this photo, don't mind mine and my siblings' middle school graduation pictures in the hallway. I had just finished the skirt, and I remember I wanted to take this picture to send to my close friends because I couldn't decide if I wanted that long of a train or not. So you can see I wouldn't say it's dramatically long, but it was long enough to be inconvenient to be walking around in. Everybody voted to keep it long though, so I didn't end up cutting the length. What else do I have here? Make sure you always iron and press your seams in between sewing, and that just makes your finished product look a lot more neat and professional. Let's see, this video, it looks like this is the bodice, and I'm sewing that together. You can see that the pieces are significantly smaller compared to the other sewing time lapse, so that's how you know it's the bodice compared to the skirt. Gosh, all these time lapses I took are so short, sorry guys. This one looks like this is me pre-creasing the pieces I used for the back of the bodice, which you'll see I folded and then sewed directly on top. You can see in the corner, sort of, that roll of boning that goes inside the casing, and that gives a lot of structure to the actual bodice so that it sits up, since I had a really low front and a low back, so the boning gives the structure it needs to stay up by itself. This picture was once I started sewing up the bodice. You can sort of see that little white thing sticking out from my elbow. That's the strap. That would be this strap. So I made it longer because I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to place it, like if I wanted it to come into like under the armpit or if I was gonna connect it down here. Based on I went with my original design though, which did come all the way under the armpit, and that was also something functional so that I could have the terno sleeve attached to it properly. And then I also have this last, I think this is the last one, this last time lapse of myself making the fabric covered buttons at the back. So these, at this point, stores were still closed because of the lockdown. So usually I would just buy these, especially if it's just a regular white. I would just purchase a bunch of these fabric covered buttons, but I had run out. And so I had to order the kit on Amazon to come in like a day and then make these pieces myself. So that's what I'm doing in this time lapse. And then I have these final pictures. It's a different location because some of you might know I moved recently. So this is in my bedroom, and again I recently moved, which is why it's kind of a disaster in the background again. But these are the photos I took once I actually sewed the terno sleeves on, and I think at this point it was already completely finished. And I was just showing, I took these pictures to send to my bridal party and to my family. You can see also that without the sleeves, my armhole was clean finished. And then I can show you the actual sleeve armhole is also clean finished. There's a bias tape around it. And this is actually how most ternos were traditionally sewn. So you would have the bodice piece and you would have the sleeves separate. Both of them would be clean finished around the armhole. And then it would be hand sewn on, like when it was time to wear. It's mainly for structural purposes, like for example, to store it. You wouldn't really store it with the sleeves still attached and hung, because eventually like it would take a toll on the structure of the sleeve. So traditionally they're made to be clean finished separate, and then for example I've been storing it with my sleeves flat, and that helps maintain and keep the overall structure of the dress, of the sleeves I should say. On my website I do indicate that to best maintain the shape of your sleeve, it is best to fold it flat so that the body is tucked into the sleeves, and then leave it in like a drawer or something flat like this, so that your sleeves don't get crumpled, so your sleeves stay flat and pressed how they should be, instead of having them hung and then eventually like your sleeves start to droop a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. And yeah, that was the making of my dress. Sorry I didn't have that much footage. I promise for future videos I'm going to try my best to remember to take I guess time lapses or behind the scenes. But I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit more about, I guess, sewing in general, ternos in general, and just how my dress was made. Let me know if you guys have any comments or requests for future video ideas, and thank you for watching.